Did you guys see this CBS article about the Trump supporter in Rockland who has filed a restraining order, filed for a restraining order against his Biden supporting neighbor because the Biden supporting neighbor's kids keep writing stuff like BLM and support for like LGBTQ causes and chalk in front of this guy's house, and he has had enough of it. He doesn't know why anybody would do this. He has turned to the city of Rockland for legal assistance with this matter.
Because he's being attacked.
It should be said that he didn't want to do this, that they are making him. They're making him do this.
That's a direct quote.
Because they wrote with chalk, Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ. Right? Like I don't even, I'm confused about where the threat is, but apparently it's very threatening.
Well, listen to this part though. This is in the article. So this is a direct quote from this guy in the article. I went down there and asked them, well, why didn't you write this in front of your house or anybody else's house? Why mine? And they just laughed at me, he said.
I love these children. I love them.
I love this dude, man. Like what? Like I love that this, like, because you know this guy's hanging a fucking like Trump flag off the front of his house or whatever, like a fucking idiot. I love that. Like, I just love the mindset of a Trump supporter who's like the whole last 4 years has just been like, man, the libs are so triggered. Huh, my guy like triggered the libs so bad. All the libs are hella triggered. And then like
everyone was
kids,
a snowflake to him until a week ago.
This guy loves trolling, and yeah, exactly, until a week ago. And now like there's like, I feel like that has been like whiplash for a lot of Trump people the last week or so. Been like, hey guys, you know, there's such a thing as being a sore winner. And it's like, I'm sorry, am I flying fucking Biden flags off of my car? Like, do I walk around in a hat that says fucking Biden on it? Do I like what? Do I run around like fucking yelling shit about how he's your president too and whatnot? Because I'm going to for the next 4 years. I fucking hate Joe Biden, and I will absolutely destroy every free minute you have with my support for this man.
This guy that filed the restraining order is also like, so the restraining order is set to go, and the family that filed says they really hope it will help keep the peace until they move.
So I'm confused. Are they moving? Yeah, are they currently moving? Is that like
this guy probably thought he was safe in Rockland? I mean, to be fair, if I was a fucking idiot Trump supporter, I would think I was safe.
I would have considered that somewhat Trump country.
He's gonna have to move to Rio Linda. I think that's like that's eventually the mecca for the guys like this is Rio Linda, as far as I know.
I just really have to point out that this is funny to me, because when Trump supporters are saying things that are like against people's basic human rights, and then they say that's harmful to me, people are like, I have freedom of speech and you're being, super sensitive. But when people are just writing things to affirm the general human rights of your fellow citizens, given that you feel like you love America so much, you feel the need to file a restraining order against them. Like I'm just legitimately confused about, because one of these things is objectively threatening and the other one is objectively not, even if you don't agree with it.
It's not. So this is a whole thing for this entire like genre of person, right? So you guys, I've talked before. I'm like
genre of person.
I'm like a Reddit nerd, right? And so the big, since they, Trump's like I can't remember what it was called. Thank God. I'm not even going to try and remember what it was called. But the Trump subreddit got shut down. So all of those guys are in are conservative, which is the conservative subreddit. Mm-hmm. Since the election, the subreddit has,
it's called like the Donald, the old one.
Oh God damn it. Yeah, you're right. You reminded me. So our conservative, since the election, has become a private subreddit. Nobody can view or comment or post in there without moderator approval. They've completely gone like silent. They're all in there sharing conspiracy theories. But and I know that like, I know that well, exactly. And at this point in the game, right? Like like pointing at conservatives to be like, look at this hypocrisy is like basically naive at this point. Like it's just, we've all, okay, yeah, we get it. But it is astonishing that like the people who have been screaming about safe spaces for 4 years, as soon as the election happens, fucking like board up the doors and the windows. And they're like, we're not coming out. You can't come in. I fucking love it. I can't get enough of it.
I can't tell what my favorite part of this story is. Like, I do think close to the best is when he confronts these children. He asks why they're doing really BLM and LGBTQ chalk art outside his house. Why mine? And they just laughed at me. My other favorite part is when apparently he has one of those Ring doorbells that films outside. And it says that he says his Ring doorbell video shows their children harassing his family with Biden chants outside. Biden chants.
I wonder what the Biden chants are.
Yeah, what are the Biden chants?
I've never heard a Biden chant in my life. I've never heard anyone excited about Joe Biden.
No, yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anybody who is pumped enough to chant about Joe Biden.
No. I also just, there's something about this. Like, so this is a CBS story, CBS Sacramento, and like when you click on the link, there's like a full, like there is a reporter outside, and I'm sure there's like the van and the lights and the whole thing, and he's wearing his CBS jacket, and it's cold outside, and he is out there reporting this like very important news. I'm tickled by that.
Yeah, he was probably like late to work or something, and this is his punishment.
Right. He's like, oh shit, I gotta go do the fucking Rockland Trump supporter.
I think they were laughing at it in the newsroom, and he was like, oh, I want this. I am taking this story.
I hope that that's what it is.
Well, Rockland.
Yeah, it has to be, because nobody can do this with a straight face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
he
cheers
somehow
to those
pulled it
children.
off.
I think it's great.
I want to interview those kids.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Would love to have them on the show.
The heroes we
Rockland
need,
hero
the heroes
children.
we don't deserve.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Rockland hero children, that's what we're gonna call them.
I believe that's the technical term.
The heroes of Rockland.
Find us, get at us on the Twitter.
We won't swear that episode. Now let's not have them on.
Now, speaking of episodes that children aren't on, do you guys want to do one right now?
Let's do it.
Voices, the things they said. Voices, some from those dead. All the voices heard. Voices, things we say. Voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Hello, everyone. You have Kempa.
And Skylar.
And Shannon.
And Flo.
Yay. And it's episode 107, which really holds no special meaning, but we made it this far, guys.
Every episode's a gift. So it's fresh and special.
Sure. I mean, it's been almost exactly a year since Skylar and I started this back up. So I guess that is a little special. I don't know what the time frame is on that, but it's almost exactly a year now.
Yeah.
That's cool. Since Bad Faith Daryl. How far we've come.
Oh.
And then Brianna and Virgil Texas stole the name of that episode for their new lame podcast.
I never really thought of it that way. Yeah.
100% they must have gotten it from us.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That was our iconic episode.
I mean, it is it's a pretty well-known one.
It is. That's a well-known one. Surprisingly, it's fallen out of the top 10 downloads, and our new number one, other than our voting guide, is Gaze of Rax. That is
fuck up.
That's incredible. Why would that be the one that people are listening
to? Because they are doing what I do, which is imagine Skylar in a helicopter above downtown Sacramento.
I feel like they're reading that name and just like, the fuck does that mean? Like, all right, I have to listen to that now.
Wow.
It's one of my favorites. So like, I'm glad people are listening to it.
Okay, but let's get real here for a second. Your favorite episode is every episode.
It's true. Especially everyone with a guest that like,
Mhm.
I'm so pumped after we have the guest on that I'm like, this might be my new favorite episode.
Yeah.
I just love people coming on.
Hey, speaking of guests that we've had on recently, wanted to do a quick update on District 8, which is one that I've been watching really, really closely. As of Tuesday, the new dumps have told us that Mai has taken a bigger lead than she had. Her lead was infinitesimal, and it has now grown to
4 points, I think.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 points. I think
4.1%. So I don't know if we said fully who this is or what this is. This is you said District 8 of Sacramento City Council. This is Mai Vang, friend of the show, who's been on the show, who's a lot of fun, against Pastor Les Simmons, who's a good dude, but who took a lot of money from real estate sort of at the end there, and sort of really concerned a lot of us about how he would govern were he to get this position now. So yeah, Skylar, as Skylar said, 4.1 points ahead. You know, the county has gone through about 76% of all the ballots that have been put in so far. So assuming that her district is 76% of the way counted, she's in a really good position. Like 4 points is really tough to overcome, I think, after that late in the game. So, you know, I saw that the California Democratic Progressive Caucus was having a little Zoom party on Friday, and among the stars they listed on it was Mai, and they listed her as a council member elect. So maybe they know something we don't. Maybe she's in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Can you imagine two friends of this, like real friends of the show, on city council?
Incredible. Leaf blowers in this town are numbered if that happens.
The
If
leaf blowers,
I will
leaf blowers, be scared. Be scared.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to the other things of the show today. Yes, the other things of the show today.
I like it.
Let's talk about California a bit and some things that some legislators have in the bag for our next session. It looks like, folks, we're going to have a push to decriminalize psychedelic drugs here in California. Wow, wow, wow.
Decriminalize. Pew, 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 pew.
Wow. Now, that doesn't make them illegal. It would just decriminalize them. Now, this is a bill by Senator Scott Wiener. We're trying not to hold it against him that he defeated our friend Jackie Fielder in his Senate race. But I do believe that Jackie running to his left will continue to push him left on things like this. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Steve,
do you want to say a bit about what the difference is between decriminalization and legalization? Because I'm not sure that's something that everybody quite understands.
Well, Flo, as a public health professional who speaks, I think, pretty often on this, maybe you should be the person to discuss the difference.
Sure. So,
Yep. Rubber and glue, baby.
So the difference between the two is that when you decriminalize something, you're basically saying that you're taking away the penalties, but you're not saying that when you legalize something, you also open it up potentially to commercialization. So you're saying this is something that can be freely traded and that you can then begin to establish businesses around, et cetera. And so there's a really big conversation about decriminalization sometimes without legalization, because you don't have to harm people because they have it. Just at the same time, the opposite of that is not opening it up to the free market to put it in stores and things like that. I just think it's important to clarify, because sometimes people are like, well, then the drugs will be everywhere. And it's like, you can decriminalize without legalizing.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, it basically means, right, people won't get hit with these really how do you say, draconian measures against them for having small amounts of drugs. And these are the kind of things that we've seen throw so many people in prison over the last 40 years.
Kamala Harris. Sorry.
I was like, yeah, it goes back even. I mean, we can go back to, what do you want to go, 30.
I guess, yeah. And we've discussed that on this show too.
Yeah.
It does go back that far, the reefer madness age.
Yep.
And so this is a good step forward, and it's nice to see California considering this. Other places really have led the way on this. In Oakland last year, they decriminalized certain psychedelics that come from plants and fungi. So I assume that means psilocybin mushrooms, and not synthetic psychedelics like LSD. So they're not ready to take that step yet. But just this last week, Oregon, the entire state, passed supervised use of psychedelics in a therapeutic setting, right? So you and your therapist can go on a journey together. And Oregon,
I don't think the therapist is taking the drugs with you. I think you
they
take the
guide
drugs.
It's like the friend at the festival that's not doing the drug. That's what your psychiatrist is.
I love
your
it.
good old standby.
Will you have a bad trip during like a horrible Bob Dylan set? This is not me speaking from experience. Oregon also decriminalized small amounts of heroin, cocaine, meth, and psychedelics, turning them basically to $100 fine if you get caught with them.
It's like a traffic offense. Yeah.
Right. It's like jaywalking, basically.
Yep.
So again, this is stuff that's in a good direction. DC did the same thing with plants and fungi, psychedelics. So good direction, right?
I would say so. Yeah. At this point in the war on drugs, it would appear that drugs are winning on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I love to see
which is good. I also love to see it. I love to think
Same.
about it.
I love to see it and think about it.
I've been a warrior for drugs for ages.
Drug warrior in the
A warrior for
house.
drugs. That's the way to put it, I suppose.
Oh my gosh.
Is this going to get us in trouble?
I know.
Someone's gonna flag it.
Sorry.
Right.
No, I mean, obviously, like this is like relaxing of drug laws is good across the board. Like drugs should never have been treated the way that we've been treating them in the first place. It's my understanding that marijuana was only illegalized in the first place because somebody, I think it was like the cotton industry, was threatened by the hemp industry or something, and so they like introduced a bunch of legislation to tie it up and get rid of the competition. That is one. I cannot verify that, but I'm pretty sure that something along those lines is how marijuana came to be illegal in this country anyway. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Like it has never made sense. It's always been like if you look at the way that that drugs have been treated by the legal system in this country for decades, it's super fucking racist. It's just like a way for the fucking government to like propagate slavery against the same people they were doing it towards without saying that that's what they're doing. It's just a new way to do that. And so anything that gets in the way of that and breaks that system down and breaks it apart is a good thing in my book. I don't know. I guess like for me too, I just don't like if this makes it so somebody like who wouldn't normally have done meth does meth and it like fucks their life up or something, then like that sucks. But I'm just gonna say I know quite a few people who have done drugs.
Interesting.
I don't think I know a single person who was ever like, I really want to do this drug, but it's illegal, so I'm not going to do it. I don't think that that's like a thought process that people have. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Meth is one of the
with you there.
Okay, go.
I was going to say, I would agree with you there that and that's where I think the difference between decriminalization and legalization goes in. And I will use myself as an example. I the depths of my laziness know no bounds. And so like I drink. I have no objection to drinking, but I didn't drink until I turned 21, not because I was trying to be a goody two shoes, just because I was too lazy to get a fake ID and was too like, I just could not be bothered to try to do all of the things, especially because I didn't live in California where you could just like walk into Target and get alcohol. You had to go to a liquor store. You had to have an ID. You had to like, it was a whole production, and I was just too freaking lazy. So I say that to say like, to me, decriminalizing things doesn't change the calculus. It's when you legalize it, because marijuana, like now there are dispensaries on the corner, right? Because we legalized it and we created an industry around it. And so now there are a non-zero number of people who, even if we had decriminalized it, weren't going to go out and find a weed man, right? They weren't going to go out and seek it out. But now that it's legal and you can go and use your ATM and walk inside and have, you know, a canna barista, like, you know, tell you all the things, like now people will try it. So I think that's the difference, is the decriminalization doesn't really have an impact on use, but legalization absolutely does, because now you have people putting up billboards and giving you coupons and like doing all these things to try to get you to use the drug, versus it just being there and the decision being more, you know, about circumstances and those other things, right? So that's the difference, I think.
With legalization and those advertisements, that's where, let's say, public health advocates might hop in and say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be having these billboards out there saying to
Feel
kids
good?
that cocaine's fun. Yeah.
Right. Feel good? Here's some meth. Tried heroin lately? Right? Like, no.
Oh my God. Joe Camel with the needle hanging out of his arm.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We don't need it.
I also think like with all of this, it's like you have, there's like facts and evidence, right, that shows that certain of these things, like fucking mushrooms or whatever, have therapeutic effects for people living with any number of things, up to like including PTSD, anxiety and depression, all of this. Like, you are trusting a licensed and skilled professional to, like, you know, be recliner side with this person while they're on their trip. Like, why do we have to, like, I just don't understand this constant like stigmatization of things that actually work for people, right? It's like, for me, I think about it in the same way as like needle exchange, or like safe injection sites for people.
Believe you mean drug dens, according to the California
I'm sorry,
GOP.
I do mean drug dens. You know, that like you have these spaces where people can get clean needles, or where they can safely use IV drugs, and all of a sudden people are just really fucking pissed off that exists, and, you know, or use mushrooms and real pissed off that that's an actual thing.
Right.
And it's like, but do you realize that that's happening anyway? And so what we're doing is we're creating safe spaces and monitored spaces for people to be able to engage in on the mushroom side of things, like therapeutic activity, on the IV drug side, which is, like, now I'm realizing, a bad example.
Yeah, they're a little different. Yeah.
We're just trying to make sure that people aren't, you know, contracting, like, you know, any number of diseases. But
yeah, or ODing and dying in front of us,
right,
or in front of nobody, right? And yeah, I've lost people to heroin and opiates, and so that definitely, I see no reason why we shouldn't have, you know, safe injection sites. And I'll also say, to the mushroom side of it, I certainly don't think opiates are good for people. Mushrooms, full stop, made me a better person. Like, I am more empathetic. I like it. I never even tried them until I moved to California. So thank you, California. But they do. I really do think they make you a better, more human, and a better resident of Earth. Like, I have a tree that I visit regularly because we are close now, because of a mushroom trip I was on once. Like, and, you know, that doesn't happen. Cocaine does not make you a better person. Alcohol also really doesn't. Mushrooms do.
I'm a fucking delight when I've had plenty of alcohol. So I don't know. And people tell me
I was
that
not expecting this conversation to go there, so I'm just like,
when
Dave,
I'm
what I
sober,
learned in this conversation is apparently mushrooms make you a better person, and Dave has a tree friend.
I do,
like,
yes.
it's just so much
Oh, you
Fucking
know that
hippies.
story.
God
It's
damn.
the Purple Beach over in Capitol Park. We are
Oh,
very close.
Christ.
Alrighty then.
Yeah.
Well, all right. All right.
I mean, what like
Oh,
point-
I'm the asshole. Okay.
I just have to say, as a public health person, I'm not reinforcing the mushrooms make you a better person. I feel like I just need to say that out loud, just as a disclaimer. The opinion shared here. Tweets are your own.
As a trusted
opinions
professional with
here
a
are not
large
facts and
following, I'm
evidence.
going to double down on this. Mushrooms make you a better person.
There's no peer-reviewed evidence on that. I just need to put that out there.
the doctor
There's enough
is
peer-
like,
Very-
where's the
I
data?
just-
There's enough peer-reviewed evidence that you can go on a trip with your, with your shrink with it. So come on.
This is
Yeah,
like we're gonna do like some Voices River City research and
Yeah, our
interview
Patreon
Dave's-
money's going to this.
interview
I
Kemper's
am-
friends before and after his mushroom use.
Mhm.
I am open to, I just want to couch our recommendations here.
Flo, everyone knows you and I are not the same person.
I thought we were the last time we were gonna have like a Voices adventure like this was with the sugar-free like Haribo gummy bears.
gosh.
We never got around to that, so I don't know.
All you gotta do is have your gallbladder taken out, and you don't even need those fucking gummy bears.
Sick. More on that later.
Now we wish we were talking about tree friends, don't we?
Now you all
No,
wish you
no,
were fucking
actually, I
hippies,
don't.
don't you?
I'm totally comfortable with the poop conversation.
All right, I'm gonna
Skylar's
head
the
that
only one
off.
that's
I'm gonna
not.
head that one off.
Flo, I didn't know you were so scared of mushrooms.
Not scared of mushrooms. I'm just hesitant about encouraging people. I mean, to use drugs. Like I said, I'm not a teetotaler, but I also am I recognize that for some people there is an addiction factor. And so as a public health person, I try to toe the line between again, there's a difference between decriminalization and legalization. And not that I'm necessarily opposed to legalizing certain things, but I do think that addiction is real. And so I just always like to err on the side of, from a public health perspective,
Of hallucinogens? I mean, I would look up the numbers on addiction to hallucinogens compared to anything else.
I'm just not encouraging. I mean, because the other thing is when people have underlying, mental health conditions, things can be exacerbated. I always like to just couch it in results may vary. Consult your own physician first. I don't want to make any blanket this is objectively good kind of.
No, I mean
that's all.
I didn't want to take mushrooms for a very, very long time because I have schizophrenia in my family, and I was scared that there might be some, it might scare something up in me. But no, great time. That's just me, folks.
Great time. Now I have a tree friend. Who the fuck do you have as your friends?
No fucking trees.
Not Purple Beach.
We hug.
Birch.
It's awesome.
Sounds like
But
a
apparently
one-sided
the
hug.
GOP is really upset about that.
Oh, right. So
Well, I mean, what else is new? They're always upset about something.
my favorite, yeah. So the Senate Republican caucus, the California Senate Republican caucus, they tweeted out this article by Alexei Kosef, good dude, and they wrote, California Democrats want to legalize, quote, drug dens. And if that wasn't enough, now they want to legalize psychedelic drugs. This has such a reefer madness vibe to me.
Yeah.
And it tells you everything you need to know about why only 16% of 16 and 17-year-olds that are pre-registering, to become voters in California are choosing the Republican Party as opposed to anything else. You guys are a bunch of fucking nerds.
I love this. There's a guy who's commenting on this. He says, before long, California Dems will want to legalize crime.
Yes.
And then a guy responds to that. This is one of the greatest tweets I've ever seen. He says, and this is a guy who's mad about legalizing crime, by the way. It's not going to be clear when I read this tweet. Their march to decriminalize crime has already started. Democrats have closed prisons, reduced or eliminated criminal behavior, released violent offenders early, and overwhelmed local probation departments that make their jobs almost impossible.
Yes.
I like that this guy is saying they've reduced or eliminated criminal behavior as if that's like a really bad thing that the Democrats are doing.
Yes. Yeah. I loved the before long California Democrats will want to legalize crime. I was like, if only one could hope, because there are so many things that are crimes simply because they're crimes. But what's really funny to me is there's another guy who also agrees, who responds. He's also the March to Decriminalize guy, and he says, just to help you out, when something is no longer a crime, it becomes legal. Thank you to my legal scholar Everett Rice for explaining to us that when something is no longer a crime, it becomes legal.
It's amazing. Well, you know the guy who said
scintillating legal analysis here for sure.
You know the guy who said pretty soon the Democrats are going to want to legalize crime. That's Tab Berg. This is this far right communications guy that's been around Sacramento forever. We like to call him Bab Turg where I'm from. He loves to. He actually has done a lot of Sheriff Jones's campaigns. They have a very similar look and vibe.
In his profile, he refers to himself as a Scottish Viking defending liberty. So that feels maybe a little dog whistly to me.
That's your boy Tab. Folks.
Maybe I'm just being sensitive.
Yeah.
Because of this impending civil war and all of that.
I just love legalized crime because like that,
like that it's an insult.
Yes. Like I was like, yes, that is a thing I am into. I would like things that are currently classified as crimes to not be crimes anymore. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
That's the funniest thing about
right there.
Well, that's it. That's the funny thing about the dynamic right now. It's like Republicans way the fuck out in their right field. Everything they say about the libs is like calling them socialists, and they want to do this terrible thing like legalize crime, or they want to make education free, which is horrible, or healthcare free. And all the libs are like, no, we don't want to do that. And then all of us on the left are like, no, all of that sounds fucking great. That like, why are you?
If only we could get on board with that. Can we? You promise?
Why are you hiding from this? My favorite response to the original tweet by the Republican Senate caucus was from a friend of the show. I won't give his real name, but at First Class Riot. I'm in a drug den right now with your mom.
That's cool, dude. That's why I fucking joined Twitter for tweets exactly like that one. That's why I made an account. So to First Class Riot, I salute you.
Cheers. Cheers, pal.
Cheers for sure.
This is no statement on moms, by the way.
Oh yeah.
To all the moms listening.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Good work. Well, so in addition to Democrats wanting to legalize crime and that all the terrible things that portends, we also have some other somewhat disturbing things to talk about. I am certainly not the most educated one here about the subject, but it has come to my attention that COVID is spiking and that cases and deaths are on the rise all over the country, including California. It appears that we are, I mean, Flo, do you think it's fair to say that this is a second wave? Like this is kind of what people have been talking about?
Yes, I would say that this is probably our second wave, especially since the temperature is dropping and we've seen the cases really start to go back up. I mean, we've seen a shift in terms of a decline in cases to now we're seeing a major uptick in cases. So yeah, this is likely the beginning of a first wave. You never know where you are until you hit the inflection point and move in the opposite direction.
Right. So
Yeah, this is scary. I mean, in many ways it was predictable, but also because we're not nearly in as good a place as we had hoped to be before the second wave hit. The second wave hitting is really hard, and it's hitting right around the time where, I've been describing us this year as sort of like still in that storming and norming phase of this, which is that like we still have, what is it, 4 more months before we've reached a year with this. So there are still people out there who are like haven't celebrated a birthday in quarantine, and all of us haven't done holidays. And holidays are one of those times where, gathering and traditions are really important. And the weather for even, those of us in Northern California isn't what it would be if we lived in some place, with a warmer climate. And so the inclination is to want to be indoors and to be comfortable and to gather with family. And so I'm actually really nervous about what's going to happen over the next like 2 to 6 weeks, because as the holidays near, I think a lot of people are already worn out from having been away from their families and are not going to want to practice the distancing, especially those folks who have been distancing and have been watching other people go out and just live their best lives. Like, I think they're the people who are like, look, I've been doing this for 9 months. I just want to see grandma. And I think that's what's scariest, right? Because now all of our day-to-day activities are more dangerous because our cases are going back up and people are still grocery shopping and still needing to do their kind of basics. And so we're going to be in close proximity because the times we are together are more likely to be indoors as the temperature drops.
Yeah. I honestly empathize with a lot of those things that people are feeling. And as a person who lives alone, reading the articles saying that it's time for people to get ready for possibly the worst phase of the pandemic. It's going to get cold. You're going to be more alone more often. And the holidays are hitting. And really what you should be doing if you want to protect your family is not be around them. That did not make me feel good. And it worries me for the next couple months. But yeah, so Sacramento, we're back up to the purple tier. We've been downgraded, I suppose you'd call that, which means all of our restaurants have to stop their indoor dining.
Right.
I believe it means our museum has to shut down. Our museums, they just opened the last couple weeks.
Yeah, same with the gyms.
Things. The gyms have to shut down, which they should have been shut down the whole time. I don't.
Well, that's
some of the gyms offer like outdoor services or something that are supposed to be
outdoor
safer.
ones are still allowed,
right?
Because the outdoor restaurants are still allowed to have some things as well. I mean, the challenge is, of course, the temperature has dropped. But to your point about the gyms, the thing that Tareen said, he was like, I wonder sometimes if the reopening and then having to shut back down is part of what's like when things reopen, people start to let their guard down. And he was like, I'd almost rather we not do that until we're really safe, because he was like, I just feel like it lets people feel like, oh, good, things are getting better. And then we get more lax about all of our protections.
Mm-hmm. And I know we've all walked by the bars, the ones in particular that were deeply shirking. Should we name them? Maybe I should name them on the show.
All the bars from A to Z.
The ones that open at 6 a.m.
And another one that might be named after the rush that created the state downtown.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've definitely like everybody, I would imagine that everybody's has, but my sort of mindset has really like evolved over the course of this thing. Like when we started, when we started the shutdown, I was like really mad at people who wouldn't go along with the program. And now, like, I'm still annoyed with people. I actually just had my first incident of like confronting somebody in public who wasn't wearing a mask. It actually went okay. Yeah. I'm still annoyed with people who do that, but like, at this point, like Dave, I live by myself. I lost my job when COVID hit. My industry immediately just went under. Like I've been stuck in here and I'm pretty good about it. I don't go out. I don't even eat outdoors in places unless I like am not in Sacramento and have to, or something along those lines. I go to the grocery store, but I'm pretty good about being careful about things. And I go by the bars, and I'm still annoyed, and it's still like, to me, the thing is just like, fuck, man, I want to go to a concert in the next 5 years. Like, I miss that shit. I want to go see fucking bands play, and I can't do that until you guys stop going to the fucking bar. And it's like, and I am annoyed, but rather than, I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I feel a little more sympathy, because I get burnout. I understand that, like, people need to be around people. I'm not condoning it, but I'm saying that I kind of have shifted from this place of like, you're an awful piece of shit for being at the bar, to like, come on, man, like, I know I want to be at the bar too, like, I get it. I know where you're at. I understand your fucking mindset, but we gotta fucking be cool about this. Cause eventually I would like to go to the bar. Eventually I would like to go see a concert, or be able to travel and see my family without having to do some calculus about whether I'm going to kill my dad or not,
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is like, because of the time of year, and to Flo's point about like, temperatures dropping and like flu season and all of that, it really does sort of create a space for me anyway, where there's more, not that I wasn't worried before, but there is an elevated sense of concern around what this is going to look like. Personally, just like continuing to be locked up at home and not getting to see friends as often as I would like that's getting really fucking exhausting. Not being able to go to the bar, things like that, of course. Professionally, in terms of serving people experiencing homelessness, like, we, during the summer months or the warmer months, and even in the spring, we really didn't see like a huge rise in numbers. Like, we did have to quarantine at one point, because of a COVID positive, and we had people who did get sick, or who did test positive, but it was few and far between, rather than the big scare that everyone had anticipated. The difference now is that we live in a community that has not prioritized getting people experiencing homelessness indoors, for their own health and safety, and for the health and safety of the community at large. And
we have receipts on that. We have, we have the county rejecting,
was rejected by Nav Gill, the county executive, right? Like, which is what we talked about the last episode. We have not prioritized serving the most vulnerable people in our community. And I am incredibly concerned about what that means for COVID and people who are living outside, because I know what it's like to work on the front lines during a really cold and wet winter. And it's just illness after illness after illness, having to call for ambulances to take people into the hospital because they are so cold we can't get them warm, or they've been so sick that they just don't have the energy to move. And how are they supposed to be protected from this virus that's just taking over our community? Like, and our community that could have had $104 million more dollars to address this crisis, but instead the county executive, Nav Gill, who should be fired from his job for the criminal action of giving that money to the sheriff's department. It's fucking criminal. Like, what's gonna happen this winter?
Is it true that they shuffled 40 million back after the fact from the sheriff's department?
So no, they didn't shuffle 40 million back. They just allocated $45 million to public health. So some of that might come from from the coronavirus relief funds, and some of it is likely coming from the general fund.
But the cops
they didn't reduce the sheriff's
Yeah.
allocation at all. They
Lovely.
just also gave public health finally the $45 million that they had asked for this year.
Yeah.
With no promises that they're going to get the additional $45 million that they need for next year.
Speaking
So
of,
if we had to have general fund savings, why didn't we give less to the police and save our money? So we'll definitely have a public health needs beyond December 31st, which is when the coronavirus relief funds can no longer be spent.
yeah.
So that's good times, everyone.
We
Good
just
times.
we deeply misused it, and it's so sad to see the state of things right now, and that's on Nav Gill.
Yep.
Another thing that is kind of scary about this go around with coronavirus versus the last big wave that we had is the state of the federal government. Like back during that one, things were fairly new. They were able to get a stimulus. They were able to provide unemployment benefits and help to small businesses. Obviously, anybody who has been watching that aspect for the last couple of months, I mean, like Chuck and Mitch and Trump have just been, I mean, it's like they're doing like the worst job in the world of continuing these things. And that
they don't care anymore.
They don't give a shit. Yeah, no, all of those people are worth millions of dollars and they don't care about the people who aren't and who are struggling during coronavirus. And so somebody like Nancy Pelosi or somebody like Mitch McConnell feels absolutely no urgency to actually do their jobs and help the people who are relying on them.
I have seen like sort of signals from a Pelosi and a Schumer and a Biden, because they're like, well, now we're in power. We want to,
well, that's the thing though. Biden's not in power yet. Trump's still
precisely.
We're still about to do Trump's like season finale here, whatever that looks like. But I guarantee you what it does not look like is Trump trying to help people who are out of work, renters who can't afford the rent, small businesses who are going out of business. All of those people are going to be on their own as far as the federal government is concerned, unless I'm severely misreading the situation, which I don't think that I am. So that's going to be another thing. It's going to these are going to be some long months between now and January is going to be a really fucking trying time for this country. And I feel lucky in terms of governance to live in California. Like I would much rather live here than and be going through it in the way that we are, as opposed to how people in states like, Tennessee or Kentucky are, which are much looser around social isolation regulation. But yeah, but even California's there's no money left to do anything, they're bleeding. There's no help coming from the feds, and we're about to go through a pretty dark period. So I don't know. I guess this all sounds really terrible. I don't mean it to sound terrible. I just kind of mean it as like if you were vulnerable financially or health wise, like fucking batten down the hatches, because it's gonna be nasty until February at the earliest.
I would recommend. If you are in a precarious living situation, reach out to the Sacramento Tenants Union or Democratic Socialists of America or ACE, or anywhere throughout the state. There are tenants unions, there are DSA chapters. ACE exists throughout the state. There is an infrastructure being built to fight back for tenants, and it's really important. I was just on a national call before this episode with not just DSA, but other folks discussing things that you can do as tenants and discussing what it means to build out an infrastructure for tenants' rights, and what does a rent strike look like? Because rent strike might be the thing we need to do, because Gavin Newsom is not going to stop this. Gavin Newsom is friends with the banks that demand that the owners of these buildings pay their mortgage, which demands that the renters of those buildings pay their rent. And so we have to stop that.
Yep.
And there's only one way to do that, and it's with people power. So reach out to your local groups that are working on that. And they're doing really brave, really cool stuff. And this is a winnable thing. It's a scary, precarious moment, but it is winnable. I think
it's winnable, but it requires organization and it requires solidarity. It does not none of this stuff gets off the ground without those things. And like, and these, all these groups that Dave just listed off are really, really good resources for how to kind of get involved with that and start working on it. If that's something that you're interested in doing, which I would encourage you, even if you are not in a super precarious situation, to start getting involved with that, because the further in we go and the worse this gets, it is going to turn into an us versus them situation. And so you want to have solidarity with the people around you when that happens.
And it's capital versus workers. I mean,
exactly.
Haves and have-nots, right? And we can beat them, but we all have to stick together. We got to be that collection of small fish that look like a very, very large fish.
Yes. I love that.
No, I mean, I also, in just to go back to like the empathizing with people I did not initially empathize with, I saw a little letter come out from like, you know, the Downtown Sac Partnership and the Midtown Business Association and some other group, and I still don't like them, but you know, they are representing small businesses downtown, and they were basically saying like, please, please, please let us keep some things open in some regard. And again, I don't think they should keep those things open in any regard, because that will increase the spread.
Right.
But the reason that they're asking for this is because they have no reprieve. And they have no other fucking direction. And I know restaurant owners out here that are like crying because they're like, no, I can't survive another month or two. Like, it's kind of the backbone of the downtown business apparatus as well too, right? Like restaurants and bars, and like they're not going to last. They're just not.
The other side of this to think about, just while we're on the topic, is that wealthy people, since the beginning of this pandemic, this is a great time to be a wealthy person.
Absolutely.
Billionaires are their money, their wealth is skyrocketing right now.
Racking it up.
Yeah. So, and that, I mean, that to me, I don't know, that I'm not somebody who needs to see a whole lot of more like obvious instances of capitalism being like obviously terrible. I'm already kind of sold on that. But if you aren't, like, dude, look around, look at how many people are suffering. People are losing their homes. People are losing their families. People's businesses are going under, and the guys at the top dude, like think about that. Every time you hear anybody talk about like, oh, the economy is doing great or whatever, look around you and see how that fucking applies to you, because 9 times out of 10 it fucking doesn't, and we need to stop falling for that shit.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, that felt like a flaming hot take.
What a show.
Well, I mean, so, you know,
yeah.
That was my flaming hot take, but I appreciate flaming hot takes from other people. And in fact, sometimes I do like to go back through the old database and replay my own greatest flaming hot takes. I wish there was a consolidated place where I could do that, though, where there was just like a bunch of like really, really perfect takes, the spiciest takes, organized and kind of consolidated down into one spot. You guys wouldn't happen to know of anywhere like that, would you?
Let me take this one, everyone.
Please.
And Skylar, earlier in the show, you mentioned that you had lost your job, and I just wanted to stop and take a moment to recognize that. And, you know, we're all, you know, we're with you on that, and anything we can do. Yeah.
Thank you.
This place that is a cache, the Alexandria Library of hot takes.
Really?
Didn't go so well for the Alexandria Library, though, right?
Well, No, it didn't.
Maybe
So
the Sacramento Public Library that's doing.
I would say read them while you can. Folks.
Oh shit. Run. Don't walk.
Can you really burn down an idea, folks? Anyway, this place for hot takes is this perfect hot takes is voicesrivercity.com. Been around for 3.5 years. Did a lot of news and arts coverage, a lot of really great truth to power essays, some really funny, weird stuff too. We did a best of Sacramento thing a couple years, which always made me laugh. We also, of course, do the Sac Follows the Money project, which is always a joy, and people really respond well to that. Current iteration of the site, as you'll notice, is mostly the podcast. Again, we're at episode 107, and we've really had a lot of fun growing, and it's just going to grow more. So keep an eye out there. I promise you, this is my honest to God promise. This fucking web store will be up in a week. A week from today, it will be up. Yes,
You heard him, folks.
Nice.
And we love accountability.
And I owe somebody already a koozie. And there's also another listener who is a $25 a month person who they just reached out. They haven't gotten their t-shirt yet. So I will remedy that immediately. So all of these things, like we're really excited to build and do more things post-election, right? It's been crazy. But yeah, voicesrivercity.com. We are on social media, on Facebook as Voices River City, Twitter at Voices River City, Instagram at Voices River City. It's very, very funny on Instagram. Follow that. We're on YouTube. You can look at our little faces as we talk about the issues of the day. Voices River City. Subscribe, schmirch that borscht button, force that blash button. You can also like give us a little review if you follow us on one of the apps. And then Shannon's look when I was doing that, flourish that borscht.
Sorry. I can't control my face sometimes.
Is that? Oh no! If you want to support us for as low as $5 a month, that's a beer at the bar that literally none of us can go to right now. We are at patreon.com/voicesrivercity. We have special episodes up. We've got another one coming, and we're really excited about it. But the 4 that we have up are really cool, and they're all very like each one is like sort of hosted by each of us. And they are very much ourselves, and they're very fun. And I hope we continue to do special episodes like that, that sort of let people get to know more and more about who we are. I am on Twitter at Kempa, YOUKNOWKEMPA.
You can find me at Guillotine for You. That's Guillotine, the number 4, YOU.
I'm Shan N.D. Stevens.
And I'm Flojaune, FLOJAUNE.
Before we go, I think we have like a couple minutes. So I just wanted to mention a thing that happened today.
Yeah.
So I go down. This is about a monthly thing I do. I buy these really, really cheap little headphones from Target. And then they break usually.
Are they skull candies?
They are definitely skull candies.
Yeah, I've had a pair myself.
It's like good quality until suddenly one bud just like goes out. And so since it's Target, you can just go back down and like trade it in for a new pair. And so I'll spend $10 on some skull candies and just like trade them in once a month every time they break. So today was my trade-in day.
Skull candy day at the Kempa residence.
It went out yesterday. My left ear went out.
Oh my gosh.
And this is life on the other side, folks. But I went down. I got a pair, and they were only $6. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to trade these. I'm just going to buy them. That's $6. Whatever. It's a beer at the bar I'm not going to. So I ended up. I'm walking home, and I'm like by that whatever that street is parallel just north of Broadway in downtown Sac, X or whatever. And so I'm like going back to the grid on X, and I'm standing there waiting for the light to turn green so I could walk. and
Mhm.
it turns green, and I start walking, and this car next to me, like it's like a little SUV, this little girl, like maybe 6 or 7 years old, she looks exactly like Shannon, like at that age, I assume. She pokes her head out and gives me this like impish little evil grin and screams out, "Diarrhea eater!" And then the car speeds off like onto the freeway.
Shannon, I see you've perfected the time traveling technology that has allowed you to do this.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna make it public, but fuck, here we go.
Well, how dare you
That's a good use. Of it,
yuck
by
my
the way.
yum?
Oh my goodness! Don't yuck
What
my
I
yum.
do in the privacy of my own home is my business.
That's true, folks.
This episode is all about the kids of the Sacramento
Yeah.
region.
Yeah,
Sounds like the kids are all right, man.
The kids
Yeah.
are
Come on.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
okay with
Snap
kids
your
like
Z.
these. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes.
That's a good
Wow.
bookend. Maybe they'll let us in their club since Sunrise won't.
Yeah.
We don't even need you, Sunrise Movement. We got the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that? How you like that? All right.
They're probably
Before
fine
we
with
start
that.
a full-on beef with the Sunrise Movement,
Yeah,
I
right.
think we should probably get out of here.
All
Before
right.
we go, I just wanted to clarify one thing. Flo, it is your considered recommendation as a health professional that Oregonians should start smoking meth immediately, right? I wanted to clarify that 'cause it sounded like that's what you
That's-
were advocating for.
That's definitely what I heard.
No comment.